Conclusion. You may have read this book and thought, relational leadership is a great idea, but I'm not a business owner, so it doesn't apply to me. I challenge you to think differently. Relational leadership is a lifestyle and not a position of employment. It's my belief that anyone can be a relational leader within their own community. I believe that being a relational leader can change the environment where you are and enrich the lives of people around you. As you may have noticed in the last chapter, one of the largest components of relational leadership is serving those around you. That's how you impact your world. A business owner or a CEO may have a more direct impact on a company or organization, but you can influence your department or the team. As you walk out relational leadership principles within the context of your organization, I believe that you'll see positive change within your sphere of influence. You may be limited by the policies and the practices of the organization, but that doesn't leave you without a place to practice relational leadership. I encourage you to look at the relational leadership areas of focus and determine what level of influence you have on your company or your organization. Embrace what you can change and don't get caught up in negativity or self-pity in the areas that are beyond your control. Remember, one of the key elements of relational leadership is serving others, so serve with gladness. I also recognize that there are several other character areas that I could have included as a part of relational leadership. This book is not intended to be an exhaustive book dealing every aspect of relational leadership. My intention is to introduce the concept and add some clarity around the 4 primary areas. As of this writing, I've found very little information on the topic, so I thought it was important to introduce it in a thought-provoking manner. Keep in mind, leadership is not a paid position. Anyone can be a leader by setting an example for others. So lead and lead well. One last thought. When I was thinking about how to approach the topic of relational leadership, I realized how far I am from being an outstanding example. Who am I to teach or try and train people about relational leadership? Relational leadership doesn't come naturally for me. I have to work at it. Dare I confess that I can focus much easier on tasks than I can on people? Surely I'm not the only one. Maybe that's why this book needed to be written. As I set out to write this book, I began to reflect on past leaders of my life. I wanted to think of someone who would exemplify it best. And one day it hit me. The best example I can think of is Jesus Christ. He really is the best example of a relational leadership that there is. I know some readers might be rolling your eyes right now, but hear me out on this one. You don't have to be a Christian or a follower of Christ to look at his example in scriptures and see that he fits the position of relational leader extremely well. Let's take a few minutes to examine his example. Let's revisit the 4 areas that relational leaders focus on and see how well Christ fulfills the role. In short, if we emulate him, we are emulating a true relational leader. Once again, the 4 areas of focus are purpose, principles, people, and profits. Purpose. From Scripture, it's clear that Christ came and understood his purpose from an early age. The Bible tells of an account in Luke chapter 2 at the age of 12. Jesus got separated from his parents. He was with his parents for their annual trip to Jerusalem for the Passover feast. No doubt it was a big event with lots of people that had traveled from near and far for this annual celebration. Somehow, Jesus got separated from his parents as they were leaving the celebration. His parents assumed that he was somewhere in the group they had been traveling with to their homeland. At some point, Jesus' parents realized that he was not with the group. Can you imagine? They didn't find him for 3 days. They had to turn around and go back to where they had been to find him. His response? Didn't you know that I needed to be about my Heavenly Father's business? He knew what his purpose was. He also reiterated the same purpose again in the book of John, In chapter 6, verse 38, when he said, I have come down from heaven, not to do my will, but to do the will of him who sent me. Later in Jesus' life, the writer of Hebrews tells us in chapter 12, verse 2, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. So Christ's purpose is what kept him moving forward when things were at their darkest point. As relational leaders, that's why it's important that we serve a purpose much larger than ourselves. Our purpose becomes our true north, the thing that we focus on when we want clarity in making decisions or clarity in what steps to take. We assess where we are and we can ask ourselves, what is the next step I can take to get closer to my purpose? Principles. We can see throughout the scriptures that Jesus was a man of solid principles, and he did not compromise. Just before his ministry started, he went out to the wilderness to meditate and pray. The book of Matthew, chapter 4, tells the account when Jesus was tempted 3 times, and all 3 times he resisted by standing on principles that he believed in. His principles were rooted and grounded in the scriptures that existed in that day. He could recall those principles from memory and apply them to keep him headed towards his purpose. If our purpose is our true north, we can think of our principles as the compass that guides our pathway to that true north. People. If you're a Bible reading person at all, you will know that Jesus' purpose was to save people from an eternity separated from God. So he offered himself as a sacrifice for everyone, regardless of race, gender, ethnic group, or economic status in life. In fact, he was so focused on people that in the book of John, chapter 3, verse 17, it says he didn't come to judge the world, but to save the world. In the Bible, you can see that Jesus continually helped others in need, even when it wasn't the culturally correct thing to do. From the Samaritan woman at the well in the book of John, chapter 4, to the story of the Good Samaritan that put religious people to shame. Jesus didn't even follow tradition when a woman was caught in adultery. Tradition dictated that she should have been stoned to death. He let her live. So Jesus wasn't afraid to help people in their time of need, regardless of who they were. As a relational leader, we will often make a sacrifice for the greater good of moving towards our determined purpose. It's worth pointing out that Jesus often withdrew from the crowd and spent time alone in prayer. So like every relational leader, he spent time taking care of himself. There are plenty of statistics available to prove meditation and prayer are healthy for us. Take the time to rest, refresh, and restore yourself so you can continue to be a good relational leader. Profits. We don't really hear about financial profit in the Bible, but Jesus was a big proponent of being a good steward of his finances. There are 2 occasions in the book of Matthew that the question of paying taxes comes up. In Matthew 22, Jesus advises to give to Caesar what is Caesar's, despite the added burden the Roman tax collectors put on people in that period in history. In the second account in Matthew 17, Jesus directs one of his men to open a fish's mouth to reveal the needed tax money. So he was obedient to the laws of the land. Beyond paying taxes, Jesus often shared parables about the wages of workers in the fields and about the servants handling money when their masters were away. One could argue a number of these are not genuinely talking about money, but about spiritual principles. But it's clear Jesus often used practical things of this earth to illustrate things that were unseen. Without question, he was a proponent of being a good steward of whatever he possessed. We should do the same. What time, talent, or treasure have you been entrusted with that you could better steward to make the world a better place? Let's take simple steps towards better stewardship today. Closing thoughts. From these few examples, you can see that Jesus Christ is a great example of a relational leader. If you're not a follower of Christ, you can still follow his principles and see a good measure of return. The concepts are as dependable as the law of gravity. Plain and simple, they work. If you'd like to be a follower of Christ, then that's another whole journey that's worth having a conversation about. Don't look for someone who's perfect to show you the way, but look for someone who is sincere and moving in the right direction. Find someone that's already walking in the principles of relational leadership. They'll be glad to mentor you or provide you with guidance. If you're already a follower of Christ, then I challenge you to hone your skills as a relational leader. You might not always get it right, but keep working at it and keep sharing what you know. In the story you just read, Laura had the chance to share with Matt. At the end of the story, you might have noticed when Matt asked how he could repay Laura for all her help, she challenged him to help someone else in need. Shouldn't every relational leader help others along the way? That's my challenge to you. Go and help someone in need as you journey towards your purpose. Conclusion, review, questions. Number 1. What areas of your life can you become a leader? Number 2. Do you have a mentor to help you become a better leader? Number 3. Who can you help mentor to become a better leader? Number 4. Do you have anyone that can guide you in becoming a better relational leader? Number 5. Now that you've finished the book, what is the next step you should take? About the author. Leonard Cochran is the Chief Engagement Officer of Upwards Unlimited, LLC. The company is focused on training relational leadership skills to emerging and existing leaders. He enjoys speaking, coaching, and training leadership skills and seeing lives transformed. He has recently launched the RLCoach.com. It's an expanding platform for people to learn more about relational leadership skills and to sign up for his newly launched newsletter. Leonard has been married to his best friend for the past 35 years. He and his wife enjoy spending time with their 2 adult children and their spouses, along with their 2 grandchildren. Leonard also enjoys helping his wife in managing a 12-month restoration and recovery residential home for women. The 501c3 organization is run 100% by volunteers, and there's very little cost to the women in the program. The organization is called leahshouse.com. If you would like to know more about relational leadership or contact Leonard to learn more, then follow one of these following links. At Leonard Cochran on LinkedIn and Facebook, at Upwards Unlimited, that's Upwards, WORDS, Unlimited on Facebook and YouTube, or the websites are upwardsunlimited.com, UPWORDSUNLIMITED.com, as well as the RLCoach.com, THERLCOACH.com. Thanks for listening. I've enjoyed narrating. Bye-bye.